We can spin this
What's
forever.
your idea for? By the way, Marquise
you've been holding
Goodwin,
out on us, and I'm really curious to hear what it is.
We have to throw this out because it's news. Marquise Goodwin was in yesterday and today. Very, very fringe wide receiver at the end of the rope. Speed guy for sure. Not really high on the production of Marquise Goodwin. It's just newsworthy.
I mean, he's going to be 33 years old this season. He's had one good year in his career in terms of production. That was 4 years ago.
He's never been He's never been the guy that they thought he was going to be.
No,
he's got Olympic speed.
Yeah,
an Olympic
one really
long
good
jumper.
season with the Niners where he had almost 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. He's old.
He doesn't move my meter.
If they bring him in, that's fine. You're paying a minimum salary, probably.
That ain't
whatever.
It would be a minimum salary.
Before the show, earlier today, I tweeted after talking with Didi and I were on the phone for a while yesterday, and after our conversation, I started thinking about a wide receiver that, now that I've had a chance to talk to her and think about it more, is a wide receiver we've talked about that I haven't really been in favor of the Browns acquiring. But before the show, Earl and Mike were harassing me to try to find out who I was talking about. They were naming all these random names.
Yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin.
And it was, in fact, Rumpelstiltskin.
I thought Jerry
his
Rice.
40 times like 4-2.
Yeah.
He can move.
I mean, and you guys are going to laugh who I say this guy is, because we were arguing about.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
You're
Let's
saying
hear
OBJ.
G's
Hunter Renfrow.
Hunter Renfrow.
So now you're coming around.
We were arguing about this guy the other day, and
Because you called him just a guy.
I don't think he's that good.
Right.
But again, after talking with Aditi, and we were getting into our conversation, a lot of it was about Odell, and the fact that big part of the problem with Odell here. Even though everybody wants to blame Baker and whatever, and I blame Baker some for what happened.
There's plenty of blame to go around.
And everybody that knows, nobody dislikes Baker more than me, and nobody has blamed Baker more than me.
Right.
So I'm certainly no Baker apologist. However, a big problem with Odell, and part of the reason I don't want him back, is he's a sloppy route runner.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
He's a freelancer.
He goes off script, and that's not.
That's why it wasn't good for Baker, by the way. Baker's too small to be able to see that.
Yes.
So he's throwing to spots. He expects his guy to be there.
And Watson could handle that better than Baker could,
100%
certainly.
agree with that.
However, Stefanski's offense, even with Deshaun Watson, is going to still be, and you talked about this recently, G, where you talk about he's got the guardrails on the offense. Like, there's a plan, and you got to follow the plan.
Right.
And Odell is not a plan follower. That's just not his game.
No.
Fact.
And so after talking about this with Aditi, I said to her, I was arguing with G and J the other day that I don't really love Hunter Renfrow, but you know what?
What did she say that changed your mind?
Well, because we talked about how important it is for this offense to have the
structure.
She talked about, why did Amari Cooper do better than Odell ever did here?
Yeah.
Even though he's not maybe the talent that Odell is.
Sure.
Because Amari Cooper runs perfect routes.
Yep.
Amari Cooper is always where he's supposed to be. And that's what Hunter Renfrow does as well.
Yeah.
Now, I think you guys like Hunter Renfrow more than I do.
Possible.
And you still do. But I think for this offense, and especially once my favorite guy, Brandon Cooks, went off the board, for this offense and this team, and then I brought back the fact that he played with him in college, and so they have some rapport already.
He's making all our points. He's getting so big. He's growing up.
So I've come around to tell you guys to be excited about that. Not that it's going to happen.
Shout out to Bull.
Yeah.
Because he was so dug in on this the other day.
Yeah.
And it's very rarely do people admit, you know what, I've changed my mind.
Well, and I did say, listen, I said the whole time, I'm not anti-Renfrow. I just didn't want him to be the best move.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I don't know if you have a choice. He might be the best move you can make.
Because it's getting late.
Right. If they weren't interested in Cooks, I can't imagine they're interested in Hopkins, because Hopkins is making a ton of money too. He's even older than Cooks.
Are you guys
he's not
still
as fast
seeing
as Cooks.
a lot of folks that really want them to bring in DeAndre Hopkins? Because
I'm talking
through Twitter. I've talked to some not on Twitter, but I've just the people that I run into and the people that are asking, like, what do you think? When it always comes back to what they think, and they're like, I think we need DeAndre Hopkins. It's stunning to me how many people have told me in the last week, well, everybody else is gone. DeAndre Hopkins, he was great with Watson once upon a time.
I don't think he's the right fit, but in the end, I think if they traded for Hopkins, none of us are going to be mad about it.
Yesterday, Earl gave me a call.
No.
I was sitting there doing stuff, and first I was doing the Locked On Brown podcast, and then Jeff called me like, bro, you got the internet on fire. I'm like, what happened? They signed somebody? Then Earl called me and said, yo, bro, they going crazy. You see your timeline, they're going crazy about this receiver conversation. I'm like, what? I didn't know this was earth-shattering. I thought we knew.
What did you say that drove everybody nuts?
That they need a receiver?
They need a receiver. People went crazy. People are like,
People were freaking out that G was upset that Barry hasn't been more aggressive in pursuing a receiver.
Yeah.
You know, it's stunning to me how quick this fan base will have the backs of a front office that heretofore has proven nothing.
It is.
But man, they've got so many apologists in the chat rooms and in we all show up on Sundays. We're all apologists.
I was, and I had to do some research, because sometimes when you see something and you're breaking it down and you look at it and you're like, why do so few people feel that way? Why? What is the point of saying or being upset if you say they need to be more aggressive in this area? And so I had to get on the time machine and I start doing some research. And to be a really diehard fan, you have to really think about what it means to be a fan. That means you are emotionally attached to a team and a person that you don't know.
Yeah.
So when you're that emotionally tied into it, like we all are, because we wouldn't do this for a living, we weren't. When you criticize your team, it's like you criticizing someone's family, their mother, their children.
Yep.
There's people that take the games.
This is what I don't understand about that, because you're right. But here's what I always tell fans. You're looking at it the wrong way. I'm not from an outside house throwing stones. I can talk about my brother, but you can't talk about my brother.
Me, Jay, and Bull, we argue all the time. But guess whose side I'm on if we outside?
That's exactly right.
Nah, we in the team. You can't talk to Bull like that.
And it's the same thing with our team. I mean, when I'm taking a shot at the Browns, I'm not doing it from an outside perspective. It's like I'm looking at my brother saying, you better get your shit together.
Yeah.
Because you're carrying my name.
That's
and
right.
you're better than that.
And
you're
better than you guys, because you're like, I kind of understand why fans sometimes get mad at me, even though I never say anything to to pick on Browns fans. I would never do that because you're my people. But still, but for you guys, I mean, you've been fans of the team your whole life, so I don't understand.
I do think two things can be true, though. I think yesterday, G, we may underrate how aggressive Barry has been in the last 24 months, going after Watson, making the trade for Cooper. They've signed as many free agents as I think any team but Chicago this offseason.
Atlanta's signed more, too.
And Atlanta. But they're in the top 5%. But
made
also
a lot of moves. But
not been aggressive enough in other aspects to go push all the chips in this year to give themselves a chance to win with a quarterback whose cap hit is only going up and up now after the restructure. I think it's $19 million this year. It's 64, 64, 64. In my opinion, this is when those chips have to be pushed onto the table. And when you look at Andrew Barry, especially financially speaking, his draft record,
Very
Yeah,
his ability to acquire
C-.
talent in trades and free agencies. I think he's done good in trades. He's had a ton of swing and misses in free agency. What we do know Barry is very, 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 very good at is manipulating the cap. And that's why I'm okay with them pushing all their chips in, whether it was for Cooks, Hopkins, Renfrow, whatever they have to do, sign a guy to more money. Because I'm more confident in him fixing the cap in the back end of that than I am with him acquiring talent through other avenues.
But with the understanding on the cap, because we've had conversations here recently about the cap, and there will be a day of reckoning.
There is for every team eventually.
Yes.
But it can be pushed off for as long as you're willing to push it off.
And that's what we're doing.
And that's what I trust Barry to do better than others.
It's so important that you win in this window. Because the next window is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And I ask people all the time, if you knew today you had 2 years and you weren't going to be here no more, would you operate differently?
Yes.
Everybody would.
Yes.
Because the sense of urgency. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to compare it to why you say, well, G. Bush, you can't run an organization like that. G. Bush, you can't. It's not that way. Well, let me give you a different perspective and see if you can follow me on this one. If you look at it from a player's perspective, they live that every day.
That is their life.
Their life is 2 to 3 year cycles.
Right.
They have an expiration date.
So when you are Myles Garrett, or when you are Nick Chubb, or when you are Joe Bitonio, and you're looking at your mortality, your career, your life in front of you, and you are hearing people say, oh, Watson's not going to be here for 11 games. This year don't count. How hard is that to swallow?
Yeah, right.
Or this year where you hear, well, we don't have the money. We'll rather let younger guys develop. And you're sitting there in that locker room and you say, man, I'm icing my knees down. I don't even know if I got nothing left for this year.
Yeah.
And so what are we doing here? The goal is the highest goal in the world, to get here to the mountaintop.
And G. Bush, is that how you set culture?
That's how.
Without saying a word, you send a message to every guy in that locker room based on, we keep using this term, they're all in. Well, hell, shouldn't you be all in every year? Shouldn't every team do that?
No, I don't think so. Because
I expect that as a fan. I'm all in. I'm not watching 80% of the games.
I agree, but if you have a quarterback, I think it's realistic to expect your team to be all in.
Yes.
If you don't have that quarterback,
go get one.
And the Browns did, which is why now they are all in.
Right. I think it's fair. I understand when fans say, well, let's be a little patient here. But to defend you, like, you know, if the Browns make a big move for a wide receiver, you'll give him credit today, even though you killed him yesterday for not doing anything. I do think you got to be patient, but we've talked about it. Andrew Berry doesn't get a complete benefit of the doubt because he's done, at best, a mediocre job as GM. That's the reality. And you can't settle. Again, somebody was arguing, Baker Mayfield was better than any Browns quarter. I don't care. He's not good enough. The goal is not to be better than Derek Anderson. The goal is not to be better than Colt McCoy. The goal is to be good enough to win a Super Bowl.
Couldn't agree more. And you know, I want my GM to be all in every year. I just do, on all my teams.
And we could do two things at once. See, I'm not dumb. I'm not, you know, I'm married to the results. I'm married to what the film looked like. If they came today and told me, hey, G. Bush, Andrew Berry, I went and got 2 receivers. They don't got to be having no name brands. If they can help the team, and I can look at them and say, let me go back and take a look and see what this dude was doing on the other team. Let me look at his skill set. Yeah. How does it fit into what we have or we don't have?
Right.
You can do all those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people they wanna err on saying let's just be patient because then if it does not happen, I can hedge my bet.
And also, what's frustrating with fans sometimes, and we all do this, even we all do this to some degree. It's like, oh, I want to get this guy, I want to get this guy, and then when he goes somewhere else, we make excuses why he wasn't the right fit.
Why he was trash,
even though we never said that before.
That is funny.
I got one point on G. Bush's going all in. It's easy to look at it in totality and say let's be patient because when you're patient, you're always kicking expectations down the road.
Right.
And in this situation, I'll use the Chiefs for an example, then I'll bring it back to the Browns. Look at who the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl with when they won in 2020. Tyreek Hill. And I'm drawing a blank on that. Who's the other 2 guys they lost in massive friendship?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire don't even play.
Don't even play. It's a total. Right. They just won the Super Bowl 3 years later.
They have the quarterback. That's all that matters.
With almost an entirely different set of casting crew.
They've got
Kelsey and Mahomes are the 2 guys that stayed. And with this Browns
and a great coach.
But with this Browns roster, my point is
quarterback, a ball catcher, and a head coach.
Yes, and my point with this Browns roster is if you don't go all in with this collective unit, which we all agree there's 3 potential Hall of Famers on this team right now, I don't think Bitonio's here in 3 years.
No.
Nick Chubb, if he's still here, is a very different caliber player. Myles Garrett will be 30 in 3 years.
Yeah, they've got to win the next few years.
This is your window to win.
And it's hard to trust them to retool when we talked about their top 100 picks in the last 3 years have been terrible. In fact, let me read this real quick because before the show, we were looking at, remember yesterday we brought up those 10 players the Browns have drafted in the top 100, and there were like 2 good players. The best players were Newsome.
There were way more misses than hits.
Yeah, there were like 7 misses, 1 okay guy,
and 2 hits.
And then 2 hits were Newsome and what's his name?
Emerson.
And Emerson. All right, let me give you the 9 players the Bengals have drafted the last 3 years, top 100 picks.
This is going to piss people off. Just be ready.
Joe Burrow,
Bust.
T. Higgins,
Bust.
Logan Wilson.
Bust.
All right, you're ruining the thing. Jamar Chase, Jackson Carman, who is a bust, Joseph Osai, and then last year's guys, Dax Hill didn't play, Cam Taylor, Britt Decent, Zachary Cart. So if you look at it, of 9 guys, 4 massive hits, 2 small hits, 2 unknown, and 1 bust. That's the difference.
But the key is 2 of them are Hall of Fame trajectory type players.
Yeah, and T. Higgins and Logan Wilson are both Pro Bowl caliber players.
Yeah, they're Pro Bowl caliber.
And this is why I can commend them because the human nature says we hit on T. Higgins. Human nature says the next year when you're not very good,
draft the offensive lineman.
Draft the offensive lineman, go away from the receiver because you have one. So that's my argument with when they say Amari Cooper. Guys, I love Amari Cooper. Love him to death. Love him. I need 2 more like him. Love him to death. But Amari Cooper is that much more dangerous with somebody else.
Yes.
They went and got T. Higgins, who could be a number 1 in a lot of places. You know what type of guts it takes to draft Jamar Chase after they're like, what are you doing? Why would you have 2 receivers?
When a left tackle was the presumed pick at that spot. It's not like they had to reach for a left tackle who was ranked much lower on the board. Penei Sewell.
They knew that Chase was a generational talent.
And
they knew that the combo of Burrow and Chase in college led to the highest trophy. Let's roll the dice. And I hate to predict this, but I'm going to say it. Those 2 are going to lead to the highest trophy in Cincinnati before they're done.
We'll see. They better.
I don't see how they miss.
I don't.
And if they were smart,
because it's the equivalent of what's going on in Kansas City with Mahomes and Kelsey.
If they're smart, they lock up both receivers.
And then if they were smart, go back
gonna be hard
to the draft and go get another receiver. See, I would because what you're doing, Tyler Boyd is the 3rd guy.
Yeah.
So now you got an availability of developing a young guy with all those studs, and you can get him for cheap. And now you control him for 4 years.
Well, and that's the situation you want to be in. The Chiefs have been there. The Eagles have been there, where you could draft a guy high and he doesn't even have to play right away.
Right.
The Bengals' first-round pick last year barely played because they had 2 good safeties, and now those guys moved on.
So you rotate the new guy in at a much lower price.